So the title, as I said, was The Last Idol. And when I said last here, it is not a chronological last, but rather in terms of irony. Prophet Muhammad should be the last personality to become an idol simply because he came to liberate us from idolatry so that we may worship Allah. And that is very clear in Quran. So the situation in the Muslim world today, and you can see it actually, from media, and you can see it even in real life, that emoting to the blasphemy of Allah is non-existent compared to emoting to the blasphemy of Prophet Muhammad. I've been a fervent watcher of The Simpsons for the last 25 odd years. And at least every month, there is something degrading God. Or Ned Flanders as well, but mostly God. How incompetent God is, how contradictory God is, etc. And I have not heard a peep from the Muslims. Yet 10 years ago, South Park wanted to parody Prophet Muhammad, and there was such a backlash that they actually had to censor that episode. So here, I think, even if I were to stop here, you can think for yourself, why on earth is that the case? I mean, we are here to worship Allah, not Prophet Muhammad, yet we emote to the blasphemy of Prophet Muhammad more so than Allah. So I would say there is something wrong there. There is something indicative of our mindset. But whatever the case, this is not a new topic. The Sunnis and Shia have been discussing this, about the nature of the Prophet, for centuries. Although they have not used the word shirk as much. They call the Shia Rafidi, etc. But they're very careful about the word shirk because it could accidentally deflect back onto themselves. So among the Sunnis, for example, they discuss the nature of Prophet Muhammad, whether he was human, whether he was light, whether he was there at the beginning of creation, etc., etc. Now these are things which are not in Quran at all. And we will demonstrate this in this presentation. So there is cause in the Islamic tradition to say, or to rather insinuate, that Prophet Muhammad has become an idol. But even so, I feel that we are not grasping the true implications of idolatry. And so I'm hoping to expound on that in this presentation. I will begin with a few verses. Chapter 18, verse 110, which says, Qul, say, so Prophet Muhammad is saying, Innama ana basharum mithlukum, I am a human being like you. Yuha ilayya innama ilahukum ilahun wahid. It has been inspired to me that your God is one God. فَمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو لِقَاءِ رَبِّهِ, whoever inclines to the meeting with his Lord, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلَ الصَّالِحَ, let him be the performer of good deeds. وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّي أَحَدًا, and he does not associate in his worship of his Lord anyone. Chapter 46, verse 9, which feeds into what Mahmoudi was saying about Prophet Muhammad not being new. Qul, so Prophet Muhammad was instructed to say, Ma kuntu bid'am min ar-rasul, I am not anything new from among the messengers. Wa ma adri ma yuf'al bi wala bikum, and it has not reached me what will be done with me or with you. Think about all the predictions which he made, and he confessed this. I don't know what will happen to me or to you. Inna tabi'a illa ma yuha ilayya, I follow but what is inspired to me. Wa ma ana illa nadhirum mubin, and I am not but a clear warner. Last verse, chapter 10, verse 15. This is one of my favorite verses because it tells you the role of Prophet Muhammad's agency. وَإِذَا تُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُنَا بَيِّنَاتٍ. And when it is rehearsed to them, our clear signs. قَالَ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُنَا لِقَائِنَا. Those who do not incline with the meeting with us. I mean, you saw that in the previous verse, it was those who incline with the meeting with us. These are those who do not incline with the meeting with us. They say, أَأْتِي بِقُرْآنٍ غَيْرِ هَذَا. Bring us a Quran other than this. أَوْ بَدِّلْهُ, or change it. So they're not happy with the revelation. Kul. Prophet Muhammad was instructed to say, مَا يَكُونُ لِي أَنْ أُبَدِّلَهُ مِنْ تِلْقَاءِ نَفْسِي. It is not for me to change it according to myself. إِنَّ تَبِعْ إِلَّا مَا يُهَا إِلَيَّ. I follow what is inspired to me. إِنِّي أَخَافُ إِنْ أَصَيْتُ رَبِّي. I fear if I was to rebel against my Lord, عَذَابٌ يَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ, a punishment of a terrible day. So here we can see that whenever Prophet Muhammad confesses, أَتَّبِعْ إِلَّا مَا يُوحَى إِلَيَّ, I follow what is inspired to me, he encouches it, or rather he is inspired to encouch it, in the language of ordinary humanness. He was not divinely inspired in terms of his application of Quran. No. He was divinely inspired in the wording. As Muhammad, you say, we're not here to change the Quran. But even in his interpretation, he was an ordinary human being who was just following what he was inspired. So this shows us that Prophet Muhammad had no intention to idolize himself the way Muslims treat him. This is something which he confessed in Quran. So you can imagine, in Quran he's telling you, مَا كُنْتُ بِدْعًا مِنَ الرَّسُولِ, I'm nothing new from among the messengers. And yet the Muslims are saying, well, he was the greatest of the messengers, he was Habibullah, the lover of Allah, etc., etc. No, he's saying, no, I'm nothing new from among them. So, is he contradicting himself? Or have we made allegations about him which are unsubstantiated by Quran? So that's something we need to think about. So next we move on to monotheism and idolatry, Tawheed and Shirk. Tawheed and Shirk are major themes in Quran. In fact, if I were to say that they are the underpinning themes in Quran, it would not be amiss. They are, in fact, featured in every single chapter of Quran. Even in traditional Islam, this is a major theme. Prophet Muhammad brought the message of Tawheed to the Meccans, and ultimately their idols were destroyed. I don't believe that this is a mistake. What I do believe is that this gives you one aspect of Tawheed. It is not the full breadth of Quranic Tawheed. Now, very interestingly, in Quran, there are 5 different words used to connote 5 types of false gods. The first word is ilah, or plural aliha, which means false gods or authority. The second is the word Rabb, or arbab in plural. This refers to nourishers and sustainers besides Allah. The third is the word nid, or andad in plural, which is mostly used to define an entity for which you have love. So by rights, you should have overwhelming love for Allah. But some people, they love other stuff more than Allah. The fourth is a very famous word, which is shirk. And interestingly, Quran uses the word sharik, partner, in 2 different ways. Number 1 is shuraka'ina, our partners, where Allah talks about false gods whom we have assigned to Him. And the second is shuraka'ikum, your partners. Who are our partners? As in God saying your partners, your partners. They are those whom we have taken as co-optees or facilitators towards Allah. In Islamic language, we call it wasila. And the fifth term, this is the last one, is sanam or asnam in plural, which refers to imagery. And there are things which we have taken, images in our minds, that in fact this is a divinely inspired thing. Take, for example, we see the ideal Muslim. Now, the ideal Muslim is dressed in a certain way. I don't mean to offend anyone here, but I don't believe there's such a thing as Islamic dress. What I believe is that there are dress forms in various cultures which exhibit modesty. But there are those who say, if you don't dress in a certain way, you are not a Muslim. That to me is this. This is the worship of sanam or images. So as you can see here, Tawheed and Shirk are major concepts in Quran. And so it is very easy for us to accidentally, well, I don't know if it's accidental, but okay, it is possible for us to uncritically accept a personality as our idol. How Prophet Muhammad became an idol. Let's go from the most obvious to the most subtle. The most obvious, investing his personality with divine attributes. For example, some sects in Islam say that he is light rather than human. I just quoted an ayah which says, Ana basharun mithlukum, I am a human being like you. But they say no, he's light. He's made of light. What does Quran say about that? Quran says in chapter 24, verse 35, Allahu nur samawati wal ard. Allah is light of the heavens and the earth. No human being, Allah is light. But they say Prophet Muhammad is light. He is said to perform miracles. Now there is a book which I bought as a teenager called 300 Miracles of Prophet Muhammad. That's quite an ironic book because in Quran it says, is it not enough that we sent the book as a sign? So in other words, the book is the only sign of his prophethood. But yet there are 300 more which God has forgotten about, apparently. His intercession is given on Judgment Day for those who say salawat to him. So they say, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala Ali Muhammad enough times and they get his intercession on Judgment Day. Yet Quran, very clearly in chapter 2, it says 3 times, there will be no intercession on Judgment Day. So here, Muhammad has become sharik besides Allah. He has become our partner to attain salvation besides Allah. He is infallible according to some sects. They say he is, the word used is ma'soom. He cannot make mistakes. Yet Quran records in 3. Some people, the Sunni say 4 times, but the Shia say 3. No, the Shia don't actually admit, but you can obviously see 3 errors which Prophet Muhammad made. Yet Muslims say he is infallible. The love of Prophet Muhammad, there are loads and loads of literature which talks about love of Prophet Muhammad. Yet as I mentioned in chapter 2, verse 165, it talks about the overwhelming love of Allah. The closest thing we have is being close to the Prophet. That's in chapter 33, verse 6, to be close to the Prophet. Now, being close is not the same as the word mahabbah or love. So that's something else. So, but on a more subtle level, there are things which we do which also aid to the idolatry. For example, we take laws which are besides divine laws, and we take these laws to be abrogating divine laws. Take, for example, Quran giving us the freedom of religion, la ikraha fid din. Yet in Hadith, we find that we are supposed to exact punishment on those who leave Islam. So again, we have taken Prophet Muhammad's law, but it's not really his law. We have taken his name to legitimize abrogating divine law. And this has made him an idol. And finally, his culture has become the culture. So take, for example, what he used to do. For example, he used to wear a certain mode of clothing, as I mentioned before. And this clothing has become sunnah. Is it really sunnah to wear that Or was it him following the original sunnah of the Arabs? Now, if he was human, he would have followed the sunnah of his people. Hence, I am not following his sunnah, but rather the sunnah of his people. Now, why do I need to do that? I'm a Malay. I should be wearing my own mode of dress. Well, obviously not here, because I would freeze to death. But the point is, there is cultural diversity in Islam, and Allah admits that cultural diversity. So I'm going to have to cut a bit short because I have 1 minute.
We've got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes, okay. So what is the solution to this, this dilemma we have about Prophet Muhammad being an idol? That we have to follow the path of Ibrahim. Path of Ibrahim, Prophet Ibrahim in Quran, is that he observed the idols of his people. And he found that those idols receded. They set. So what he did was he ultimately turned to Allah. And that's what we need to do. We need to smash the imageries we have in our minds about what is Islamic on the outside, and rather turn to what is Islamic on the inside. Because that's something we don't focus on in Muslim culture. You know, stuff like justice, for example, social justice. This is a major focus in the Quranic text. Yet in Muslim societies, our level of exacting justice is very, very bad compared. Why? Because we are more focused on the externalities of copying Prophet Muhammad. 2, we need to follow individual paths to Allah. Now, you may not believe this, but Quran says that for each of you is a way and a methodology. Each of you. And Allah will bring you together. So strive towards all that is good. That is chapter 2, verse 148 and chapter 5, verse 48. So this is something which we need to always bear in mind. We are individuals. We do not need to conform to a particular mode of expression. As long as we are under the aegis of Quranic values, I think we'll be fine. And finally, culturalification. Culturalification is not the same as culturalization. It is taking on the awareness that Prophet Muhammad was a human being. He made mistakes as a human being. He lived in a particular space-time. He even read Quran. He is not Quran. That is something we have to realize. Quran reading, the text of Quran is separate from Prophet Muhammad. And that's why Allah told him, Rabbi zidni ilma. My Lord, make dua, my Lord, increase for me in knowledge. Why? Because he did not have the full knowledge to understand all the verses at once. So this is something which we need to internalize as well. So finally, I will end with an ayah of the Quran where this is the only confession of the Prophet in Quran on Judgment Day, chapter 25, verse 30, and it says, وَقَالَ الرَّسُولُ, and the messenger said, Ya Rabbi, O my Lord, Inna qawmi attakhidhu hadha al-Qur'ana mahjura. Verily, I have my people have taken this Quran as something to be left behind or abandoned. So you can see this is the prediction which Allah gave us. And I mean, we are living through that prediction today. Thank you.